We love supporting and promoting the creators of musical theater throughout the world, and we would love to have your support as well. Go to musicaltheaterradio.com and click on the Become a Patron button, because a supportive community is a strong community. Welcome back to another episode of Be Our Guest here on Musical Theater Radio. I am your host, as always, Jean-Paul Jovanoff. As you know, helping promote new or lesser known musicals is hugely important to me. And today I'd like to introduce you to another show. Today we're going to be talking to the creators of the musical Savage. It's a redemption story of a divorced Indigenous mother who fought racism, misogyny, sexism, and abuse to make a name for herself. You know what? Let's dive right into this incredible story and welcome Nicolette Blount and Lindel Hart to the show. Nicolette, Lindel, welcome and thank you for coming in today.
Thanks so much
Thank
for having us.
No problem. So I always start every interview the same because we want to know who you are. You know, you guys know each other, but we don't know you. So I always get a 30-second bio from each of my guests. So Nicolette, let's start with you. Who are you in 30 seconds?
Oh my gosh. When does the timer start? Now? Okay. I am a musician, singer, actress, or performer, a mom, and I'm registered Chickasaw Native American, and I'm originally from California and now live in Massachusetts.
Great. Short, sweet. We know you now. So Lindel, yourself, 30 seconds. Who are you?
Sure. My name is Lindel Hart. I am a writer and performer and yoga teacher. And my background is kind of eclectic. I have been in everything from Godzilla the musical to Bitch Dyke Faghag horror to an adaptation of Frankenstein that I was commissioned to write and perform in as the creature. So it's kind of a wild background.
Very cool. I'm very curious about all those other ones.
Should I have said what I do in our show? Did I say that? I don't think I did.
I don't know. What do you do in this show?
Okay. I am currently, my husband and I are producing the show currently. And I am the creator, co-writer, co-composer, and lyricist for Savage the Musical.
Okay. Now we do.
And Wanda Savage is my great-grandmother.
Perfect. And yeah, we'll definitely talk about more of that stuff as we get into the show. But I want to know, Nicolette, were you always into musical theater growing up, or is that something you discovered a little bit later in life?
Well, if it counts that I used to take my hairbrush and sing in front of my long mirror to Cruella de Vil from 101 Dalmatians, I would say yes. I would say I did more music. In high school, no one, I think at my high school, I went to a private high school where a lot of people were very stuck up. So I always felt like I didn't fit in. So the theater department was more of kind of cliquey, and I was very anti that. I was a punk back in the day. So no one really knew that I was into that until we had a talent show and I did a cappella Secondhand Rose. And I did a whole thing acting and singing. And I believe I won like second place next to this group of like 5 people who won first. So yeah, I would say, and the first musical my mom took me to, my mom was a professor at a college in California. And she took me to see West Side Story. And when I saw West Side Story, even though it was a college production, I was just like, oh my gosh, I have to do this. And then my life kind of went differently. I went to school for music and theater. I met my husband. I put him through school. He's a surgeon. And then I went back to school, but then I started having children. And so kind of roundabout way, but I always performed. I met Lindel because we were performing in musicals together. I performed with his husband in Into the Woods. And then I performed with him in Beauty and the Beast. And so, I really didn't start doing musical theater again until we moved out here to Massachusetts and my kids were a little bit older and I did stuff with them.
All right. And Lindel, same question to you. Were you the black sheep of the family, or was this a family type atmosphere of musical theater and the arts?
I still think I am the black sheep of the family.
Yes, that's why I love you so much. You and me both.
I always did singing from the time I was young. And the first actual play that I did, aside from some very tiny, like in class scenes, or if you want to call them productions, the first show that I actually did was a musical called Leave It to Jane when I just finished my sophomore year in high school. And it was a co-production between a local college and a community-based theater group. And that was sort of my introduction to doing real theater on a stage, rehearsals, music, the whole bit. And I did a few musicals, but I really was doing more plays and dance theater collaborations and things once I kind of left my home environment and went to college. And then after that, and then musicals really didn't come back into my sphere until probably about 10 years ago. And then I did a whole spate of musicals, including Rocky Horror Show, which was really fun. And you can probably tell that my bent is toward a little bit of an untraditional path and style. So I hope that I bring something a little bit edgier and fresher to what we're trying to do.
Very nice, very nice. And just before we get to Savage, I always want to know, you said you met at a show. You were doing shows together. So Nicolette, when you first met Lindel, what was your impression? Was it I'm gonna write something to this guy, he's brilliant, or was there something else? Are we gonna get a little dirt?
Actually, Lindel and I made a pornographic version of Beauty and the Beast with our current lead, Samantha Myberg. She was also in Beauty and the Beast, and I was Madame de la Grande Bouche, and Lindel was Cogsworth, right?
Yeah.
And Samantha was Babette. And so backstage, we would just have kind of dirty minds, and we were saying all kinds of funny things and doing we're like, this could so easily be a porno. It wouldn't even be funny. Like, seriously, if I had a PR agent right now, they would kill me. But seriously, it was funny because they would say things and we're backstage just like cracking up. And so it started with that. When I met his husband, Rod, who I really loved, he's like, if you love me, you're going to love my husband. And when I met Lindel, when we officially got to know each other better in Beauty and the Beast, and we realized that our minds were both in the gutters, and that created a lifelong friendship right there. But no, I didn't think about writing with him until, I don't know. When was Beauty and the Beast? Was that in fall? And then we didn't start writing until like January, February.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So, I knew that Lindel had written this adaptation of Frankenstein, which I went and saw. The joke is I always see Lindel naked on stage or half naked. When he was the monster or the thing in Frankenstein, he was like body painted from head to toe and naked. And then like when I saw him in Little Mermaid, he was like half naked. So it's like this funny thing of Lindel with no clothes on stage. But when I saw his Frankenstein, I knew that he knew how to write, scripts and stuff. And although I've been writing my whole life, and I always loved taking creative writing and classes in college, and I've always written things on the side, books and stuff where everyone dies at the end. But I thought, I really wanted, when I thought about doing the show about my great grandmother, because my cousin had done a documentary, and then I thought, you know what, this needs to be a movie. Like, her life is so crazy. And I already knew about my great grandma before seeing the documentary. And I thought she should have made it like a full on movie. And then I was like, oh, I should write a movie. And I was like, I can't do that. I don't know how to do that. And then I thought, but I could write a musical because I write music. And, so I talked to Lindel because I knew that he had written a script before. And although Lindel and I have kind of a little bit different musical theater tastes, which is cool because I think we each bring something to the table. And even our writing styles are a little bit different, but it works. And I started working with him, and I think him and my co-composer John, they both probably thought, this is just a crazy creative thing she wants to do, and we had no idea that it was going to get to where it is. So
Lynn, what was it like when she approached you with this concept for the show?
It was just kind of a casual conversation, as I recall. She was like, "Hey, I'm interested in writing this musical about my great grandmother, and was wondering if you might be interested in working with me on it." And she told me a bit about the story, and she played a couple of drafts of songs that she'd been working on, and I was hooked immediately. And I think all of us at first were like, well, we'll do this, we'll see if anything comes of it. But fairly soon into the process, it was clear that there was this show has kind of a force of nature behind it, and it just always felt like it was going to kind of blow up into something more than just, oh, we're doing this and let's see where it goes, or let's do it so that we can have a local production. But immediately it felt like there was a far greater potential for this show than what we had initially interpreted.
And we always tease that Wanda is like controlling it because weird things have happened, and it's just kind of funny. So that's like a running joke.
So give us a little synopsis of the show. I know I gave a brief one at the beginning, but give us a little bit of more of a fleshed out plot for the show.
So the show is about my great grandmother, and she was she grew up on the Chickasaw territory, and her life as it was is so much more than we can put into a 2.5 hour show. So we're going to save that for the movie someday. But in actuality, she had how many children did we figure out, Lindel?
7.
7 children. We're only focusing on her and my grandfather in the show. She had 5 husbands that we know of, and we keep finding out, like we think we found another husband that maybe the family didn't know about. And so, her first husband died of cancer. She had several husbands after that. Our show deals with the second husband, who was abusive, and then she tries to get away from him by going into this contest, the shooting contest that we find out early in the show that she has this amazing talent to shoot arrows and guns and always hit her target. And they say that my grandmother never aimed. She just looked and shot and got it every time. So the show goes through with this abusive relationship. She goes in to do this shooting contest. She wins. She's offered a job in the circus. And back in the day, like, women didn't have very many choices, especially if you were Native American. But also if you're a woman, like I always say, like, the women who were business women back in the day were brothel madams, and we always think down upon them, but they were business women when women weren't allowed to really own businesses. And so, we're talking about like the early 1900s when this happened, going into the 1920s. She was born in 1900. And so she wins this competition. She starts this career. She can't take her children with her, or her child, as it is in our show. And that's a really heartbreaking moment in the show. She goes forward. She meets some interesting individuals, including Howard Hard. And that was his real name in real life. And he died of syphilis. Like, you can't make this stuff up. And he was a womanizer, and he's a very kind of funny, interesting character. and Vivian, who, if you listen to our EP, she sings Currency of Men. And it's this interesting comparison between Wanda, who they're both women are very driven, but they go about their fame differently. Vivian kind of sleeps her way to the top. Wanda, not so much, but she did have a lot of men. Wanda had more talent. So you kind of see this comparison between these two women, which we believe with research and whatnot, that definitely was a possibility, if not truth. I have a friend whose mom is Filipino, and she's older. I don't think she's from like the 1920s, but back in the day when she came over here, my friend said her mom made her way in the United States by marrying up. You'd marry one guy, and then he didn't make enough money or didn't have good enough clout or whatever. So then you find another guy and you marry him and he makes more money. And that's how women did it. Which is kind of what Currency of Men is about. And then we go through her life in the circus into vaudeville. My grandmother, we've found articles in the UK, in Australia. She went all over. She performed for the King of England. And then we go into her life in silent films in Hollywood. There's a villain in Act 2 who we have a really awesome ending of Act 1, which I don't want to give away, but it is so good. People will like be on the edge of their seats going, what just happened? And then you go into Act 2, and there's a villain in Act 2 named Buster Hayes, and he is, I don't want to say any names, but he's kind of modeled after these director producers who are currently in jail for Me Too movements and things like that. And Lindel and I have constructed 2 scenes in Act 2. One of them where this incident happens with Wanda, and as a woman, sometimes these like Me Too moments happen and you can't call the man on exactly what he's doing. It's so like on the border, on the line of like, you feel uncomfortable, you know that what they're doing is wrong, but they haven't actually done anything that you could like report or something. So that we have a scene like that, and everyone who's seen it or read it has like squirmed in their seats. And then she ended up, so we have pictures of my great grandmother where her face is so much lighter than her hands. And we know that in Hollywood, that was a big thing of covering ethnicities. So we've taken that. We don't know. So my grandmother ultimately ended up in a brothel before she decided to redeem herself, so to speak. And we don't really know how she went from acting with big names like Jack Hoxsey and Mildred Harris, who was Charlie Chaplin's first wife, and all of these people, to a brothel. So we've kind of had to construct that based on some pictures we have where she definitely got much lighter as she went to Hollywood. And so that is the song Lighten Up that's streaming. It's a very, very catchy song, as it should be, because if someone's convincing you to lighten your skin and lighten your hair and look more quote unquote white, they're going to try and put it off as like a nice thing. Like, oh, this is what everyone does. But the song actually is very dark, the themes to it. And you hear Wanda question it, justify it, and then choose to do it. But later in the show, she rebels against that, ultimately causing her to be kicked out of Hollywood. And that kind of culminates in a song that I wrote called The Mask, which was pre-pandemic. Before any of that happened, I was like, what in the world? This is so crazy. And it talks about her and her co-star Grant, who is set up with this lavender marriage with Wanda because he's gay, but no one can know that he's gay. And that was very common back in the day too. And so in The Mask, you hear him deciding to stay behind his Hollywood mask and choose this life for a career. And Wanda decides, no, I'm not doing this anymore. And so that, and then within all of this is her son, which is kind of the through line of the show, and how she connects with him in letters, how she doesn't send letters, how she does sometimes, doesn't other times. She gets caught up. She tries to go back to her son. She can't. And then the ending of her trying to redeem herself with finding out what is really important in her life. I think her I want changes in the show. It starts out as I want to be this movie star or this performer star, whatever. And it changes when she realizes that's not exactly what she wanted. And I think that that's, I think in musical theater, you always want like a want that is really obvious. But if we're realistic, a lot of us in our lives, we think we want something. And then as we mature, as we go through life, we're like, oh crap, I didn't really want that. I wanted this. As I get to know myself, as she gets to know herself in the musical. So that's the long and very long of it. Lindel, do you want to add anything? Did I miss anything?
No, no.
Oh, and I will say that the Chickasaw tribe, the language is endangered, and they have rolled out Rosetta Stone because we only have like about 40 elders who speak fluently, and they're all over the age of 50. So the language is dying very quickly. And we have incorporated some of the language into the show. Not a lot, but enough to just kind of highlight it and preserve it. And Lindel, you want to talk about how we did that a little bit?
Well, I wanted to ask Lindel about your process, your research process. And this is 100 years ago that,
right.
Plus, you have some people that you can talk to, but yeah, I'd love to know the research process and all that other stuff too.
Sure. There have been a couple of kind of major sources of information. One of them is information that came from Nicolette's family. And there are some photographs that she has and that other extended family members have, and some documents.
Letters.
But we have also done a lot of work finding old newspaper articles about her career that were published as part of her tours through Europe, through Australia, including some of the people she performed with, and some articles that were about her Hollywood era. And those were a lot of the kind of primary sources that we've had. And then, as Nicolette alluded to, there are definite gaps in her story where we have had to take artistic license and create the bridges between certain events. And we're constantly finding ways to make all of that legitimate, whether it is by finding source documentation or kind of tangential documentation that makes sense in relation to her story, that makes it plausible that she could have been from in this one part of her life and part of her career and then into another, and how they come together. And we've also found that there's a lot of overlap between her gigs in circuses, vaudeville, and Hollywood. They kind of were not necessarily only sequential. They dovetailed, and she would float from one to the other very fluidly. And I think she took the work that was available whenever she had the opportunity.
And the language, I'd love to learn more about, how you incorporated that in as well, because
Yeah, so one of the things that was clear early on is that incorporating some of the Chickasaw language into the script and into the music as well was an important thing to do, because, as Nicolette said, the language is an endangered language, and if we could somehow include some of that language into the show, then it would be a way of preserving it and bringing awareness to the fact that this language is in very clear danger of essentially going extinct. So rather than have a character that translates, we've done our best to bring the language in and have it responded to in English, so that you get it contextually. I mean, we could, if we really felt it was necessary, do some kind of surtitle thing like they do in operas, where you project a translation, but I really don't think that's necessary. I think we've made it pretty clear through the interactions of the characters, what's being said in Chickasaw by the response that's given in English from another character. I think I've known a number of people who came from families that spoke multiple languages, and a lot of times the children would speak English to their parents and their parents would speak their native language back to them. So it's certainly not an unknown technique for communication.
Yeah.
And it seemed like it was probably the easiest way to get the language into the show and have it understood without having a direct translation all the time.
Yeah, like if I say chokma and Lindel says hello, you're going to know what I said, right? Yeah, it's kind of obvious.
Makes sense. Yeah, I had that problem when I lived in Ottawa, Ontario. They all spoke French to me because of my French name. I didn't know what they were saying, but I got the idea. It happened to me all the time. So and it makes sense. Emotion can come across. You can understand, even if you don't
Absolutely
words, you're going to get the intonation and the emotional response. So totally makes
we
sense.
Actually have a Jean in our show, Jean Baptiste. He's a French vaudeville manager, but he is a kind of a, what would you call it, Lindel? He has a fake French accent.
I would call him a phony.
Yeah. Yes, but he's a lot of fun.
All my French is fake too, so don't worry. If you need a fake French accent from a
we might have a role for you.
There we go. Awesome. You're the first person who's offered me to role of, or at least the potential. So I am definitely. Now that you've got the show written and ready to go, tell us a little bit about the production history and that first time it went on stage or the first reading and where it's gone from there.
We did a few vaudeville shows here locally, actually, which was really cool because the first show it was ever in was in a vaudeville show, which is perfect. Huh. And we did like 3 songs. We did Wanda Savage, Start Again, and Look at Me. Look at Me is not on the new EP, but the other 2 are. And Lindel and I were both in it. That was fun. And with our current lead, Samantha Myberg, who is also on a lot of the songs on the EP. And we did that. Then we were asked to be part of like this dance company thing and just do 1 song from the show. So we had some great dancers who choreographed Wanda Savage, and you can watch that on our YouTube. And we were the only, it was all dance except for our thing was the only thing with live music. So that was kind of cool. And then we did a local reading of Act 1. There was an opportunity that came up where it was like 1-act readings of original works. So we did that. And that was really interesting because it was the first time that I realized that what we had written really was striking a chord with people, because as I'm sitting there and Wanda's saying goodbye to Paul, her son, and having to go, leave him on the reservation and go back to work, there was a woman bawling, and it was just a reading, and it was very, very sad, but I didn't realize how, I guess, well we had written that, how heartfelt it was. Like, you could literally, even my lead actress was like, who was that crying? I was like, I don't know. I was trying to figure it out. And then we've done several readings with New York actors in New York. Also, as of late on Zoom. We started working with a New York director, Rachel Klein. She's great. And she's been kind of working with us in development. And then we were in mid-rehearsal for a local production when the pandemic hit. And we're hoping to pick that back up. And the local production, it's a huge theater. It's like 550 seats, but it's local actors. It gives us an opportunity to basically workshop the show. It will have full costumes and stuff, but it gives us an opportunity to kind of see, we're on our, are we going on to our 5th rewrite, Lindel?
Yes.
Yeah. We've been working on it for almost 5 years. Yeah.
The other thing that we should mention, of course, is that in summer of 2019, we did a concert version of the show at the New York Musical Festival, which was 2 sold-out shows with a lot of Broadway performers, as well as Samantha Myberg as Wanda. So there's been some exposure both in New York City and in our region to the show. And as far as I'm concerned, that's just the beginning.
Yeah, and we've had a lot of podcast interviews. We had a huge newspaper article come out last night. I found out that we were featured a 2-page feature in Native Max magazine, which is a huge, beautiful, very popular Native American Indigenous magazine that focuses on Indigenous arts and fashion and pop culture and things like that. So that was really cool. Also, like at our concert that Lindel mentioned, it was really interesting to do that because working on the show for so long, and they asked us to do a full show, but I was like, there's no way. Like we were still in rewrites and I just didn't want to, because you had to like fund it yourself. I just didn't think it was a possibility for us. And as we know, New York Musical Festival is now defunct and owing some people some money. So it's probably for the best. But what I did notice at that, in addition to like getting our work out there and like doing something in this long process, some of the feedback we were getting from some of the producers who were there and people who came, they're like, you guys are so much farther than you should be, which I'm not sure what that meant, except that I think maybe because we've done this all on our own. We're like the underdogs. We're like, grassroots stuff. Everything we've done from social media to our web page to our music that's streaming, all of that has been done basically here. I've done it here. And we've just kind of, I started social media just to kind of like say, hey, this is how I'm writing a musical. And now we have over 7,000 followers on our social media sites. It's crazy. But the feedback at that concert again was just really good feedback. They were saying things like, we got the opportunity to work with Kevin Lynch, who is a great musical director. He has a really popular YouTube. And some of the things he was saying and other people were like, it's not your typical musical theater music, which is good. Like people loved that. And I pride myself on that because I feel like, and my co-composer as well, I feel like I want my music to be able to cross over into the pop world or on the radio. Like you would hear it, you wouldn't know it's from a musical, because that's how you're going to get more people into the theater. I think you can reach more people. It's just kind of how I write anyways. And the comments about our lyrics and stuff, I'm not really sure sometimes what they mean by that, about it being different, but like fresh and wonderful. I'm like, how different can a lyric be? But I don't know. I guess it can be.
Yeah. I'm always curious. You said you had it in New York in front of some audience there. You've also done some local readings or some readings online. I'm always curious, did different parts of the musical hit with different areas? Did New York people watching it hit? Was there any different hits than when you did it with other people? Or was it kind of across the board, everything hit exactly where the same and maybe not hit the same to you? You went, oh, they reacted that way to this? Or any surprises?
I would say that it's been fairly consistent.
Yeah, I would say that too.
It's hard to say because we haven't done a full production or had a full reading that was open to the public. But even with the readings that we've done, table readings in New York or on Zoom, I would say that there are definitely things that elicit similar responses regardless of location.
Yeah, and things that we thought were going to be funny, like in Nymph, in some of the songs, they came off as funny. People were laughing. And another good thing about Nymph was we wrote I wrote a song called Something in Her Eyes because Colin Hanlon, who's in Modern Family, he was in Transit, he was in a lot of Broadway stuff, and Modern Family obviously is a show on television. But when I heard his voice, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to give him a song. So I literally wrote that song for Colin in that moment for that show. What it was is it's like a small little duet that's inside of another bigger jazz song called When You're in the Movies. And I thought, what if I take that duet and kind of reprise it as just his solo number about Wanda? And so it was so amazing. It was so, I would say the most wonderful thing about Nymph was sitting in the rehearsal room with Broadway singers and hearing them, and with the jazz band and stuff, and hearing the songs I've written, like, just elevate it to a whole nother level. That was like the highlight of my life to this point. Well, other than my children, my husband, but within my
Good
career,
save.
within my career, that is the highlight of my career to this day.
Yeah.
I know things will keep going forward, but it was just, oh my gosh, it was just bliss. It was amazing.
That's funny. But I tell my kids, you know what? For now, you're the top. But if I want a Tony, I'm sorry, kid. Fewer people win a Tony than have children. You know what? I can have more of you. How many chances am I going to get for that? So, and they understand that already. So
That's awesome. We're gonna have to start prepping my children. You too, Lindel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Prepare everybody. I love you, but come on. How many people have one of these?
Right.
Well, Nicolette, congratulations on the show. I've listened to the songs and it sounds great. And I'm so happy that I'm able to put it on the radio and create that one pager on my website, which I'd love for people to go check out. Because they should know more about you, and then go to your website. And what is the website for the musical?
SavageTheMusical.com.
Perfect.
And we're streaming on all the platforms, iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, all of them.
Yeah. So yeah, go check it out on those platforms, then come back to the radio station. But
Yes.
yeah, definitely make sure you do check out all the website and the songs. They do sound fantastic. And I look forward to hearing the show when it goes up on stage again.
I told you I'm giving you tickets.
Oh,
If it gets to Broadway, I'm going to give you a ticket.
and I thank you so much. I'm looking forward to that. So,
Yes.
but you said you had a local performance, maybe?
Yes.
Okay. Did you have a date or anything yet, or is that still up in the air?
Yes, it's supposed to be the first weekend in April.
Okay. So please do keep us in touch with that, because we will promote the heck out of it. And make sure
Great. Thank you.
we can get there. Is there anything else you'd like us to leave us with? Any wisdom or thoughts about the show?
I don't know about the show, but I just always am really big on encouraging people to live their dreams and not to let things stop them. When I have young people inbox me on Instagram or whatever, I always respond, and I always encourage people, like, I'm a mom. I made the choice to put my husband through school and kind of put my career on the back burner. So I didn't finish the voice and theater degree, even though I was so close. But you can still do amazing things. Like, if talent is talent, and more than that, drive is very important. You just can't give up. My favorite quote is, "Where there is fear, there is no creativity."
Nice. Lindel, can you top that, or just you want to leave it there?
I think the only thing that I would say is sort of the antithesis to Nancy Reagan, which is just say yes. If an opportunity presents itself, say yes.
Yeah.
Explore it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But you'll never know unless you try. So don't be afraid to step outside your comfort zone and go for opportunities that come up into your field of awareness.
I think that's a perfect way to end the interview with the two of you. Lindel, Nicolette, thank you again so much for coming on today.
Thanks so much for
Thank
having
you
us.
so much.
We were just speaking with the creators of the musical Savage. Tune in next week as we'll speak with another guest or guests about their life, love, and passion that is musical theater. I'm your host, Jean-Paul Jovanov, and until next time, I'll see you when I see you.